that I tried it. I'm super happy that I did.
That's exactly how I felt about ayahuasca.
Oh, ayahuasca?
You can't take that because of the antidepressant.
Yeah, you're right. I can't do any fun drugs. That's one of the shittiest parts about it. Can't do any fun drugs, man.
I just did that.
Ayahuasca?
You just did it?
Amazing.
How long ago?
What, a week ago? 2 weeks ago? No, he didn't do it.
Oh.
No, he's afraid of it.
Were you by yourself?
I was with a shaman, is Taito.
Oh, you did with the shaman?
Yeah,
Just
bro.
You and the shaman?
Yeah.
Huh.
Tell me about it. So wait,
Yeah,
where did you
tell
do
us
it?
about it.
My house.
So the shaman came to your house.
Yeah.
How'd you find the shaman?
A friend of mine. It's a.
Are they a shaman or are they like a white lady named Becky?
No. This guy doesn't speak any English. He's from Colombia.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So he's like he did this like it's like in his family. Like they grew up doing this.
Okay.
So it wasn't like just some random.
He lives
person.
in LA?
No, he lives in.
He
Colombia.
flew in for this?
Flew in from Colombia.
Whoa.
So you paid for him to fly in?
Some premium
Yeah, he flew in
experience.
from- yeah.
So this is an expensive journey,
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
Huh.
Yeah.
but it sounds like it was worth
But I
it.
wanted to do it the right way. I wasn't
Yeah.
like I just want to take this thing, right? Because it's been used for like thousands and thousands of years. Like you gotta have some sort of reverence for it instead of just showing up being like I'm taking drugs.
Yeah.
Because I was
feel that.
doing it with a purpose.
So you contact this guy. Your friend had used him before.
Yeah.
5 stars on Yelp.
Multiple times. Yeah. Yeah. Highly reviewed. Yeah.
Yeah. So you fly him out.
Not someone from Venice being like, yo, bro, drink this stuff.
Yeah. So how long did it take to plan from the time you contact him till he comes out?
It was quick. It was like,
really?
So let me make this clear. I had been thinking about doing this for like the last 2 years. And just like you were talking about, I was afraid of it. I was so afraid of doing it. But I knew that there could be so much benefit from it. So for like the last 6 months, I was contemplating it. And then from the time that I said, yo, I want to do this to like it happening, it took like about maybe 2 weeks, a week
Okay.
for him to like set up, come out.
Interesting.
Well, what seemed to you like you could gain from the experience? Like, what is it?
So like similar to you, I deal with a lot of anxiety. I deal with a lot of like caught up in thoughts around like the idea of death and my own sense of worth and being good enough and like doing enough in this life and that being related to also my fear of death. Like because I feel like it's never enough. Kind of has to go back to like my father and the fact that my father took his life, and I obsessed about the idea of death for so long since I was a kid. Because when you're 6, everything prior to like a very serious moment is just kind of like, oh, I'm with my friends, I fell.
Totally.
Everything's temporary, and then realizing your dad's gone. When my mom told me that, I'm like, what does that even mean?
That's a big
So
deal.
since I was a kid, I've obsessed with the idea of death. Like what's my life supposed to be like? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do here? What is life? What is death? What is all this? And I thought about that since I was really young. So I've always had like general anxiety, but also anxiety around just the idea of my own mortality. So I wanted to figure out a way to kind of like heal my trauma in the sense, like in relation to the kind of the assumptions I made around my father taking his life and it not being related to me. Because obviously I know in hindsight now, being 33, looking back, a 6-year-old made this like assumptions with like, oh, I'm not good enough for my father to stay, right? Because that's the only
so
thing that can
sad.
happen.
So sad.
It's fucked. But then now I'm 33, I have this hindsight where I'm able to look back and say, okay, well, obviously all these things in life experience that I've now gone through, I could realize that it's not as simple as what a 6-year-old thought.
Yeah.
Because I now have the know of my life and all the things that I've gone through. Not saying it's okay for someone to take their life, but there's more understanding of why it may or may not have happened, right? So I'm trying to get more clear just vision in my life and just being able to like love more freely without holding and like being afraid of doing it and holding back, and because of my trust in the idea that if I do, then someone's going to leave me, or I'm going to feel left again, or I'm going to feel like I wasn't good enough and that person's gone, So that I had to struggle with that with all my relationships in my life. And for me, it's like I got to a point where I'm like, I'm 33. I want a beautiful wife. I want to have a family. I want to have that. And it's like, I can't have that if I'm so afraid of allowing myself to have it. So the idea was, I'm going to do this. It's a part of, obviously it doesn't just fix something, but the idea is like to get me closer to the feeling of it. Because have you ever taken psychedelics?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, amazing. So,
Quick on that.
I love that. So like,
I've fucked around with it. Yeah.
so psychedelics for me is just, I've always felt in those moments just more connected to myself, obviously without the ego in the sense of how I should be or how people should view me or how I should, it's like just who I am. And the ayahuasca and the one that I took, Ayahe specifically, is like the strongest version of this. And it just like doesn't allow you to see anything else but like yourself. Like, and you're like confronted with it. And it just feels like it's very unavoidable, and you have to kind of go through it. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to think about this. It's like everywhere you look, almost it feels like you have to deal with that side of you that maybe you've been avoiding. And I think that's necessary.
Was there anything scary about that?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first took it, I took a little cup. And just so you guys know, it's like a little like brown liquid, like in a shot cup. I took it. I felt pretty normal. Felt like a normal like mushroom trip where I was like, oh, it's kind of like, I feel a sense of like well-being and happiness, and like trees are really pretty. And I walked around. I was like, this is normal. And then I took another cup, and then like 35 minutes, I just remember almost like I was sitting there, and I remember blinking, and it was almost like, I know this isn't the way it works for everyone, because everyone's different the way they react to this kind of medicine, but it was like, imagine, you know, a typical come up where you're like, oh, I'm getting high, right? You could feel it come up. It was like I had kind of like very mellow to like, there was no up. I was just up. And then, but it was weird because your perception of time is completely altered, where like you don't have, how long did that happen? I just remember blinking and being like, this is a lot. And it felt very uncomfortable because my thoughts were like ping-ponging, like, like around in my mind, and I couldn't seem to like hold one and just think of it. It was like this, and then this would come, and this would come, and this would come. And it was all the things that I had thought of, kind of setting my intentions leading up to it, that I wanted to like figure out. But it felt like it was all so much at one time. And then eventually it kind of slowly started to like come apart. But it's not comfortable in the sense of, I knew that I was there to do the work to try to figure this out. So I knew it wasn't going to be like, this is great. You know, it was the thing where you're in that moment where you're like, well, what am I really doing? And then I started thinking about death and like, when am I dying? Am I dying now? And then me thinking I'm going to get stuck in this moment. Because you hear about people who take stuff and like, because they're not doing it in the right way or in the right manner with the right reverence, they end up in some like weird space where like they're altered forever and they're different. I'm like, that's going to be me. That's me. I'm the guy. It's
me every time I take psychedelics.
Yeah.
No, every time. Straight up.
I don't think that's real, by the way.
What?
That there's people that get
this
stuck
idea that somebody had a bad trip.
It's scary as fuck, though.
Yeah. But so I was just afraid, and it was so, it felt, I think because of the medicine itself, it felt so like real. It felt so like, because your idea of time is so like just gone, that it felt like you were there forever. The best way I can describe it. But
in a bad way.
In a moment. For time, and then looking back now, it's like, but then you also got to this point where you're like, okay, now what then? And you kind of get calm in the idea that this is what it is. And so that's the thing that I'm looking for, is like, I've been trying to find that calm in the chaos. That's the whole point of it, right? For me mentally, because my thoughts are so sporadic all the time. Like, what do I have to do? What am I getting done? Am I doing enough? Is it enough? Am I enough? And then comes a sense of calm where you kind of just like, almost like it is what it is, and I'm going to do my best. And then it made me realize that I needed to be better at living instead of thinking about dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed to be better at giving love and showing love, because ultimately, like, what is all this worth, right? This is cool. This is fun. Make money. A cool clothing line. I have a cool clothing line. We get to have fun and talk and make content. But ultimately, like, life is just about love, giving it and receiving it. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be like, I wish I had more fucking nice things when you pass. You're not going to think about that. You're going to think about the love that you had in the moments that you had. So I started to realize that I needed to be more present with giving and being able to receive love without the fear of it's going to be taken away from me, because everything at some point is going to be taken away from us. Like, we can't take this stuff with us. Nothing. Right. So I just kind of get more comfortable in that fact. And it kind of just makes you remember that, like, very succinctly, very, like, instead of just knowing it, you really feel it. And that's the difference for me, the disconnect of like mentally, like cerebrally thinking something and feeling it in your mind versus like connecting it with what's in your body and feeling that. So I think it was amazing, man.
Wow, that sounds like, an incredible experience. I just feel so bad for the, it's just so tragic, to think of like the 6-year-old who questions, like, I wasn't good enough for him to stay.
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't thought